The most healing thing you can do for yourself, tell the truth. You know what the spiritual path is? It's about truth. That's what it's meant. Be comfortable with, come to the truth. First about you, and then, as truth becomes revealed in the gradual paces of it, what happens within a person is that as they close their eyes and say, talk to me, God, you become saturated with truths you could not otherwise have comprehended. Think of how many choices you make in your life, how many things you do in your life that are designed to keep lies alive. I want you to think about that. If I had you in a workshop all day, and this is a very compassionate exercise, would sit around and say, how many choices do you make during the day? How many thought forms in your head? How many nights do you lie awake trying to keep things in your life going that are based on things that are not true? Isn't that amazing? Hi, everybody. Woo, I gotta get myself in my body. Well, hi. You know, we only have a very short period of time together. I have to squeeze myself and my genius into an hour. And so, you know, I had to think about, for me, it's very, very important when I have time with people. You know, it's funny, the older you get, the more you kind of change the way you see, the more I have changed the way that I see things. And now when I have an opportunity to be with people, I see you very differently. I value things so differently. I think you could be anywhere else in the world, and we have an opportunity to spend an hour of our life together. I am reminded of the wise teachings of someone whose work means a great deal to me, and that's the late theologian Thomas Merton, who wrote, "This day of your life will never come again." Such a simple, simple teaching, but it's not. It's the type of deep soul teaching that has what it takes to transform you for the rest of your life. Because what you realize, if you let that profound sentence become absorbed into you, is that you wake up in the morning and you think, this day of my life will never come again. I will never see this sunrise ever again. I will see another sunrise perhaps, but not this one. I will never see the person sitting next to me exactly the same way ever again. I will never see my face the same way again. I will never see anything the same way. How shall I spend this day of my life that will never come again? I mean, it is such a huge thought. It should weaken your knees. It should weaken your knees. It should make you think, this day of my life will never come again. Write it down in a journal. What did I do with this precious gift of my life that will never, ever come again? And so when I look at this, I think we have 1 hour to spend of our lives that will never come again. That's how I look at it now. And I think, what can I give you to take with you that might make the rest of your life a little more precious, a little better, a jewel to take with you? That was one. The subject of this was transformation, and of course, by the time I list a topic and the day comes, I've changed my mind. Ooh. And I don't care anymore because I'm in my 60s. I don't care. What are they going to do? Wait till I'm in my 70s, I won't remember. And anyway, well, 80s, maybe 90s. But I do want to position this, that we are living. I want to position you in terms of the value of you, the value of every choice you make, the value of that word transformation, because that's a big, huge, great big, huge word, and I did choose that for a reason. But the reason has shifted in my little brain. We are living in a world on fire. You may or may not have noticed that. We are living at a time of great change. These are the kinds of sentences, as a writer, when I write them down, I look at that and I think, what a meaningless sentence. What a meaningless sentence. We are living at a time of great change. What is someone supposed to do with that sentence? Does that actually motivate any of you? Do you actually even care anymore? Do people even comprehend that? Well, so what? Well, it's got to be a big so what, so I'm going to delete that sentence and I'm going to put it in different language. I believe that there's never been a more critical time in the history of civilization, ever, in the history of civilization. I'm not an Armageddon person. I'm not a doomsdayist person. I'm not an optimist, and I'm not a pessimist. What I am is a real hardcore realist. That's what I am. I live by a doctrine of realism. I find optimists are pacifists, pessimists are pacifists, and depressive as hell. Realists are activists, and I'm a realist. And what I know to be true about us is the following, and this is our lecture for this morning. So listen carefully. One is, we are living at the most extraordinary time in the history of all civilization. Maybe since the time when we can chart civilization. We are about to enter the galactic community. We are about to actually really acknowledge we're not alone in this galaxy. Now I'm going to hit a pause button. And we can take that information and we can say, wow, I told you. Or we can sit back and say, what will happen as a consequence? Because that's where the worthy discussion really is. And if you can slowly move through the consequence, you could sense what's happening in the world around you now. Because it's always the knee-jerk emotional reaction that is dangerous, meaningless, and the one that gets the race in trouble. It's the part of you that says, wait a minute here, what's the actual consequence of this to us? Not that it's not inevitable. This planet's already in touch with extraterrestrial intelligence. But let's take it slowly for a moment. And what it means, number one, is that we are living at a time when all the mythologies about the nature of God will come tumbling down. Because every one of them is based upon the idea that is an earth-centric God. Every single one of them. Earth-centric. God sent his son to earth. Earth is the center of the gods from where we live. We do not have any religions that even remotely suggest life out there. No, 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 no. Our whole reality is based on the belief that the God, further, that a God looks everything like us, only bigger, and lives out there. And if not like us, well then somewhat, and behaves at least by our judicial system. We are so upside down, it's tragic. But if we could sue God, we would. I know there are lawyers that would figure out a way to do it if they could. Probably all work for Halliburton. But anyway, or Monsanto, one of those two honorable companies. Anyway, stop it. But the coming down of those myths, I want you to just sit for a moment. Just sit. If you expanded your senses, really just shoved yourself out, just shoved yourself out, shoved your cosmic skin out as far as it could go, you could sense the fragility of the collective psyche of this planet. You could sense that we cannot hold together what we believe anymore. You could sense it. That it's the fabric of our beliefs that are absolutely crumbling. And that what all the turmoil is about is that there's been a division in factions. Those who have decided to fight to hold the old myths, and those who are saying, no, we have got to pioneer a new humanity. We've got to pioneer a new humanity. We cannot maintain this illusion anymore that we are only 5 senses, because we're not. We are multisensory creatures. We can't go on with this belief that we're the only people in this vast universe. It's not true. Stop it. Stop it. Stop lying. Stop it. You know, I was just interviewed. I can't believe they did this. What a risk. Oh, my God. What a risk. Who would be so foolish? But they did. And the National Catholic Reporter. A Jesuit called. Hello. Hi. Would like to interview you. Me? Yeah. So they said, we know your work, and we'd like to interview you on Pope Francis. I said, okay. I'm shaken. I don't shake during interviews. I never shake, rattle, and roll during interviews. I'm past that. But this is a Jesuit for the National Catholic Reporter. I was like, what do I wear? He's not going to see me. But yeah, it's on YouTube. Okay. So yes, it was taped. And I had foot surgery this summer, and so I was home, and and I had time, and I would have paced the room if I could have walked. I was overwhelmed. So he's asking me questions, and he says, so what advice would you have for the Pope? And I was, and I said, Carol, listen to me. Carol, I'm talking to you. And I said, 3 words, tell the truth. Just tell the truth. No. I want you to absorb this. What is transformation? What is it? And I said, I'm a pretty smart cookie. I said, I've read the scripture. And I said, I want you to explain to me why I get 6 sacraments and you get 7. That's all. But tell me the truth. Don't tell me it's because Jesus said so, because you know what? I read the book, and I said, don't make up a bogus theology. Just tell me. We don't want you here. We don't want you here. Me and the boys, we don't want you girls here. Blah, blah, blah. But don't tell me it's because Jesus said something. Stop lying. Stop lying. And so here we have what transformation is really about. We are on a cusp here, guys, because the old world has reached the point where it can't bear any more lies, no matter where it is. It's bursting out of its seams with deceit. So much so that it has to make up a name for someone who tells the truth. It's called a whistleblower. I'm going to tell the truth on you. Oh my God. And then they arrest someone who tells the truth. In this old land, it has so inverted itself and become so toxic and so evil. This is evil now. That you are the enemy if you tell the truth. You are the enemy if the truth is spoken. Now, when somebody speaks to me of transformation, when someone wants to know why they don't heal, someone wants to know what is the nature of a spiritual path, 3 words, tell the truth. Tell the truth. It's as simple as that. If you cannot speak the truth, a true spiritual path is about truth. It's about truth and your capacity to be one with truth. That's it. But in this old world, we have become so comfortable in being in league with darkness that we deny there is darkness. There is no such thing as darkness. That's how dark it is over here. It's so dark over here that we say there's no such thing as darkness. We deny that there is anything like that because we don't want there to be, because then we have to acknowledge that we are a participant in acts of darkness. We have to say, you know what? I consciously choose darkness over light 9 out of 10 times because I know it works for me. Because I know it works. When I look at the time that we are living right now, it is such a pivotal time because, you know, I find it so curious that there's a program on TV now called Manhattan. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's not about our city. It's about Oppenheimer. It's about the project of splitting the atom and creating the atomic weaponry. It's about the bomb, the first bomb. And it is the moment, the second we entered the nuclear age. And in that second, the truth is, when they accomplished the splitting of the atom, the whole of human consciousness shifted and entered into a new calibration of consciousness simultaneously. In other words, it wasn't the atom that was split in Los Alamos or in the University of Chicago in the lab. It was actually an entire fabric of consciousness as it related to the planet that suddenly got recalibrated in 1944, 45, just like that. And in that instant, from the point, from that time on, all the generations, from entering the nuclear age on, we have morphed to be a very different type of humanity than anybody who lived before 1945. We are very different. We're nothing like the people who lived ahead of time. One of the reasons we look and watch Downton Abbey and almost mainline it is because there's something so sweet about the way humanity used to be. But we are not like that. We're nothing like that. The two mechanisms that make humanity human is the need to create and the need to survive. These have driven us since the very beginning of time. From the time we entered the nuclear age, something morphed. Do you remember when we were kids? Some of you grew up in the 50s and that. Remember having to have drills and hide under the desks and all of this? Because they actually thought that being under the desk, if there was a bomb drop, was going to help you. And of course, later, just what was it, a few years ago? It was duct tape your windows. These people are so stupid that I have to sit down when I see them. Because it is like the counter experience of divine awe is political stupidity. I have to sit down because it's like I want to say to them, you take my breath away, and all for those reasons that I can't repeat. Now, what is true is that the mechanism from that point on became recalibrated to where we have this sense that we're not going to survive. It is anti the normalcy of life. We have a sense now, but maybe we will survive, maybe we won't. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. And as a result, what we create and how we create has taken a toll. And if you look from the macro to the micro, what we create and how we create is no longer pure. A lot of what's created in pharmaceuticals and in business is corrupt, whether it's in banking or in medicine or in weaponry or in the quality of buildings where they say, well, it might last 10 years. Whereas before, they built with pride because they knew they wanted it to last 200 years. Now they want it to last long enough so you can't sue them. Relationships, when you get together before the war, it was assumed you're going a lifetime with me, kiddo. That's the only reason I'm dating you. I'm trying to figure out whether or not your teeth are good enough to go a lifetime. Now, what kind of language do we have? We're in relationship, we're living together, we bought an apartment together. All of these things mean a different length of time. Maybe we're in a relationship, we're not quite, we're this, we're that, we're seeing each other. All of these suggest a different depth of commitment. We're committed, which is different than being in a relationship, which is very different than living together. All of these suggest a very different level of duration, length of time. Because part of what's been recalibrated in us is it won't survive. Nothing survives. Things don't survive. Does your job survive anymore? Don't know. Is the government going to survive anymore? Don't know. Will the banks survive anymore? Don't know. Survival has become a question everywhere now in our transformed society. And as a result, what we're willing to commit to in terms of creating, do you want to create a family? I don't know if it'll survive. Do you want to buy a house and create that? I don't know if it'll survive. Create and survive go together. We don't know anymore because in a deeper sense, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what's out there. We don't know what's in here. I'm going to hit a pause button. Are you relating to what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah, absolutely you are. Now let's go to a lower generation, younger. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Lower means short. Kids, AKA kids. These people have this sense of, well, what's out there? What's out there? What's out there? Now, what happens in this? Look, here's what's true. It's a privilege to be alive now. It's a privilege. But you better know how to be alive now. You better understand that transformation and doing something, and not just for yourself, but for others, is the name of the game. Okay? This isn't about us taking care of ourselves anymore. Coming awake in terms of consciousness is about us becoming conscious, not of ourselves and your history, your childhood. Stop it! You're too old for that. You're too old. You've been doing it for too long. Knock it off. You've had your years to heal. You're done. You're done. You're cooked. If you haven't healed by now, you're not gonna, so keep going. You're not. If you haven't gotten over your garbage by now, look at yourself and say, you're not gonna. You are a self-serving, bitter person. Now figure out how to live with that. Your friends are sick of you. They're sick of your bitching. They're sick of your complaining. You like being this way. You like manipulating others. You like looking at them and saying, the reason I'm not everything I could be is because I don't want to be. I want to take my suffering and punish others with it. So there. Own it. Own it and get over yourselves. Look in the mirror and say, I don't want to try so hard because then I have to be responsible for my life. And then what do? Knock it off, because what's expected of you is so much better. Is so much better. And by the way, when you discover the so much better, you can take your wounds, you can still use them on Thursday afternoon. Schedule your woundedness from 1 to 5. Because let me just say, I know today's the anniversary of my brother's death. He died a brutal death of alcoholism. He was a very wounded man. And he couldn't get out of it. I'm not stupid. I'm not unkind. I'm not unfeeling. I spent years trying to get him out of it. Years. I would have been happy if he was wounded every Thursday afternoon, and I would have gone and let him have his way with that. But I also saw that it was real possible for him to lead a healthier life and not give up those wounds, but cooperate with them. And he didn't want to do it. And that was a choice. And I saw it in his eye. I saw it in his eye. And no one will ever be able to convince me, will ever be able to look at me and say, he just couldn't help it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he could. Yeah. I will never, ever listen to that phrase. I can't help it. I go, la, 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 la. Yeah, you can. You can help it with weight addiction. You can help it with booze. You can help it with alcohol. Yes, you can. What you can say is, I can't help it, and I don't want to. Because this way of life serves me. I like it. I like it. I don't want to transform, because transformation is so bloody hard. And that's the truth. And you know what? The truth part 2 is, we've grown soft and we have to grow tough again. Yes, we do. We have to grow tough again, because what we need to be able to do is take a look and say, you know what? I am multisensory. I'm a multisensory human being. You don't live in a 5-sensory world anymore. This is who you are now. You live in a hologram. You grew up thinking you were 5-sensory, and that, before the nuclear age, was true. But that's not true anymore. Now you are multisensory. You live in a field. It's as if I popped a whole bubble around you. Now, do you remember when you learned latitude and longitude? Do you remember how the globe looked? Latitude, longitude. I want you to picture yourself standing in the center of that. Can you do that? That's actually your field of energy. I want you to picture that when you think of yourself in terms of body, mind, spirit, what does that mean to you? What does that mean? What do you have in mind by that? I'll tell you what I know it means. It means that you have a high-functioning energy field that is never not functioning. It is always going, because that's the law of vibration. You are always vibrating. You are always in communication. Your inner, I-N-N-E-R, your inner net is always in touch with every single form of life. Your internet. You are always communicating. Always. You are communicating with all life forms at all times. At all times. You are always pulling in a quality that matches your own attitudes. If you dwell in darkness, you pull in darkness. Just know that. If you dwell in darkness, you pull in darkness. If you dwell in light, you pull in light. If you, when I teach about prayer, like in Defy Gravity, I teach you the 7 graces that you should really imagine that you turn on every morning. Ding, 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 ding. That you literally just bless yourself every morning and turn on graces. Because you have the power in you. That you should look at the world and say, in every moment, with every single person, all your interactions with everything, I can either grace this moment or withhold grace. That's essentially the choices we always have. I either withhold grace when I meet you, or I don't. I either look kindly upon you or I don't. And that's how I either grace this or I don't. When I think about how we're going to get through this very tight passage between the old world that is filled with such darkness and greed and the world we have to get to, it's by making a decision in transformation that we essentially don't want to make, but we have to. We have to look at what we know we are, multisensory souls, and we have to use what we cannot yet see about ourselves, but we know to be true. It is irrelevant that you cannot yet see your senses. It is irrelevant that you cannot yet see the power of your soul in action. It is irrelevant that you can't really understand how you exist in this landscape of energy. It is irrelevant that you do not get that when you close your eyes and say, help that person, bless that person, that grace actually is transmitted to that person, and that's how prayer works at a distance. That there is no distance in the energy world. It's irrelevant that you don't get your wish to see the consequences of all your actions because your fragile little ego needs it. It's time we lived by the laws of energy and the laws of grace, because that is what we are called to do now. Because that's what's going to make a difference. And that's how powerful you are. That's who you are. And it is time that you cannot be indulged anymore. No. With the nonsense, what can I do? But what can I do to make a difference? Because at this point, knowing how empowered you are as a soul, as a consciousness, whether it is through kindness, through prayer, whatever it is, no one can ever again accept an excuse of anyone that you don't have time or money. That is lower level thinking. Time, money, age, whatever, wait till the kids grow up. What? Look at your age. Wait till the kids grow up. Tell the truth. What you get to say is, I don't want to help out. Call me next week. But you never get to lie again. You don't get to do that. Because I'll tell you something, this is what I've learned. When people have cancer, when you have big, huge illnesses, liars don't heal. Is that motivation enough? Liars do not heal. You don't get to come in and say, I think someone did something negative to me in my youth. Yeah, you did. You turned dark. You went dark. The way you get out of it, it's not about what someone did to you. It's about what you imagine doing to others. It's about a vengeful heart. It's about always negotiating truth and thinking that and the nonsense you tell yourself about thinking you're protecting others by protecting things in conflict, when in fact you're always protecting yourself. The most healing thing you can do for yourself, tell the truth. You know what the spiritual path is? It's about truth. That's what it's meant. Be comfortable with, come to the truth. First about you, and then, as truth becomes revealed in the gradual paces of it, what happens within a person is that as they close their eyes and say, talk to me, talk to me, God. You become saturated with truths you could not otherwise have comprehended. Otherwise comprehended. Think of how many choices you make in your life, how many things you do in your life that are designed to keep lies alive. I want you to think about that. If I had you in a workshop all day, and this is a very compassionate exercise, would sit around and say, how many choices do you make during the day? How many thought forms in your head? How many nights do you lie awake trying to keep things in your life going that are based on things that are not true? Isn't that amazing? Or trying to keep somebody from finding out how you really feel. Imagine how many married couples go to therapy to hire a person so that they could have this person deliver one sentence across a couch to this person. Did it get there? Did it register? Are you happy? Tell him no. No. What do you want to say? Oh. Oh. It's so, why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you hear it? That's what they need. That's my version of therapy. This coddle stuff is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This is how I deal with the kids. What? You know, and it works. It works. I just, this is, anyway. It's when you, I don't know why people so fear the truth. How many of you are in terror of it? How many of you hide things that are, go the undercover route? In other words, don't tell the truth. I'm trying to ask you delicately. Okay, like this? Yeah? Okay. Okay. And how many of you, like when you're asked a question, hem and haw, just negotiate your way through very often? No, just a few, huh? Oh my God! Liar, liar, your pants are on fire. So I'm going to assume all of you. Okay. Do you know what's really true? I'm going to tell you something. The universe, I'm going to talk the non-physical world for a minute. I had an experience actually quite some time ago now with, it's a very Catholic experience, but it wasn't I consider it a very holy, sacred experience that had nothing to do with being Catholic or whatever, but it was an encounter with Teresa of Avila. I'm sure you probably know a little bit about it because of the book Entering the Castle, maybe. But that profoundly changed my life, redirected everything about my life. Nothing has been the same. Nothing has been the same. Not the depth to which I love people, not the depth to which I have patience with people, not the passion that I feel I need to just wake people up to their own sacredness of soul. I would just be at home doing nothing except that. I so need you to get you. It's not, I don't care about me anymore. It's like I need you to wake up to you. You've got to get it. You've got to get it. That you have that kind of power and authority. You've got to connect the dot. That every choice you make makes a difference. You've got to get that. And when I was with Teresa, I had this profound experience in which I understood something, not here, but visceral. And that's that when it comes to speaking the truth in our lives, we are terrified even to answer one question with pure truth. If someone looks at you and says, who really counts, do you love me anymore? Okay. Do you still want your job? Okay. Really deep questions. Are you still angry with me because I betrayed you? Okay, really, really, and we are terrified to answer that. What I understood with my encounter with Teresa, she didn't appear to me, none of that. How I learned from her was that I had to go deeply into every one of her 7 mansions of the soul, and I knew I wasn't in deep enough until I could feel the vibration around me. And sometimes I couldn't get out for hours, for 10, 15 hours. And then I could become that state. And that's why I felt this revelation of truth. And I knew we were so terrified to utter the truth because we knew one drop of truth, one drop of that nectar had the power to blow apart everything in our life that was not true. No, I don't love you anymore. Boom! Everything that was not love was gone. All I had to do was say, yeah, no, I do. I love you, just nothing's changed. I could hold it together with a rotten thread for another 2 years. But all I had to do was say, no, I don't. Boom! Off it would go. Everything. 20 years that way, 20 years in the future, all gone. House gone. This gone. One truth. One drop of golden nectar called truth. Then I understood. If I had you and you were ill, your cancer riddled in your body, and I saw how many times have you said things that were not true. I want you to look at your body. If I came to you in the middle of the night, took you out of your body and said, come here. I need you to look at this. I need you to look at this. And I'm going to ask you 5 questions. And you're going to answer me. And I'm hovering over your body with you. And if you don't answer each one absolutely truthful, we can't get this out of you. And even over your body, you're going to be terrified because when I put you back in, everything you've said is going to change your life because you won't be able to hide it. But it'll fry the cancer right out of you because cancer hates truth like that certain times. This is how powerful truth is. Now, when you walk forward and you look at the difference you make in your life in this world, you've got to understand the power in you is not about money or that kind. No, it's about your capacity to not stay in your truth about, you know what, I was angry at you. That's not a truth. That's a bad, pissy attitude. A truth is a powerful force that says, I'll tell you what a truth is. I don't lie anymore. I'll tell you what a truth is. I honor life over betrayal. I stand by the life of my friends. That's a truth. I have values. Know your values and don't compromise them in a world that's filled with compromise. Become someone with a titanium backbone. Titanium. Absolute titanium. Become someone where you bow your head and say, I am made of titanium. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Don't look at the world and imagine yourself doing great things. Don't imagine anything. Just close your eyes and say, where do you want me? I am your hands in the world. Stop imagining that this world was meant to serve you and serve it. This is what we need of each other. And I'll tell you something, one of the great mystical laws is that when I look at you, you owe me something, and I owe you. You owe me the best of yourself. Yeah, you do. Because what is in the least of us is in each other. I owe you the best of me, and you owe me the best of you. You owe each other. You know what? You owe each other a commitment not to judge each other. You spend the rest of the day here looking at every single one of the people here and thinking, no, I'm not going to judge this beautiful face. The man who drove me here this morning, the driver, he's saying, oh, I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to move to Naples. He said, people there are so friendly. He says, nobody talks to you. I said, I'm talking to you. I said, I'm talking to you. I said, people are wonderful in New York. I talk to them all the time. I said, all the time. I'm a chatterbox. I talk to anybody. You should see me in the restaurant last night. I said, I talk to anybody. I said, I just love people. And I said, you just feel more comfortable in Naples and you're ready to go and you're talking yourself out of staying here and blah, 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 blah. And he said, oh, you sound like my wife. And I said, no. No, but, and I said, no, that's not true. I said, just look kindly. I said, I look at you and I think I want to talk to you. Your accent reminds me of my family. I could tell you were from Russia or something. And I said, so I wanted to find out where you were from, what your wife cooked. Let's talk recipes. And it was as simple as that. So when you look at each other, find out what's the same about this person because you think, it's no accident that I'm looking at you. This day will never come again. In what way do I have something in common with you because what I do to the least of you, I'm doing to everybody. This is a law. And even when you look at someone, even when I look at Washington, D.C., I say to myself, it's killing me to be nice to them. It's killing me. But not will kill me. And it will harm all of you. And that is just what's true. And every time we think, oh no, I'm better than that. No, you're not. The moment you say you're better is how darkness talks to you. Darkness. That's how darkness talks to you. If we're going to build a better world together, it's got nothing to do with screwing in the right light bulbs or whether or not you recycle. Recycle your attitudes. Screw in the right thoughts. And pray. I don't care what your off-planet God looks like. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with knowing how to enter the field of grace. You are a channel for grace. When you get up in the morning, you close your eyes. You say, God, hover over me. Hover over me this day. hover over me, take me down deep, and show me why you gave me life. Show me today something about my life. Let me make the life of one person better. Open me to the grace of fortitude. Open me to the grace of love. Don't let me be afraid to love more deeply. Make me a forgiving person, not a bitter one. I don't want bitterness in my mouth or in my heart. I don't want to walk this world in bitter shoes. Why would I want that? Get me out of that. And don't let me make an agreement with darkness. Keep me on the side of light. That's how you pray. Got it?